Welcome once again. In this episode, I talked to a handful of final year students within the Urban and Regional Planning course at WITS who were keen to share their thoughts and experiences on the topic at hand. The conversations were brief, however insightful, and offer a view of how aspiring urban planners engage in such conversations, which are not usually at the forefront of the urban planning discourse. Let's get to it. Hi guys, I'm joined by urban planning students. And we will be discussing the perceptions of safety as aspiring urban planners from the view of females and males. Yes. So to start off the conversation, how would you guys say you feel in Johannesburg, like walking in Johannesburg? Yes. So how would we say we feel in urban spaces in Johannesburg?
I mean, that question is a very broad one, as we different people of different cultures and different age groups, even the gender wise, we can feel different in these spaces. So for me as a guy walking in the CBD, there's certain spaces that are feel safe and others that I don't feel. For example, Gandhi Square. So basically with Gandhi Square, for me, it's all about the openness of the space, right? You look at how there's people that you sort of can relate with, and if you can compare that to a space in Hillbrow, which is so closed up, it gives you those dark, dingy place vibes. Even the people is for me, I don't think I can relate with them that easy. So it installs some sort of fear in me walking in a space like Hillbrow.
Same.
And you then transition to back to Gandhi Square, where it's so open, everything's so clear. You're able to even feel your surroundings. So even the people that are there, people are always mobile and stuff. You don't feel like someone is watching you. So I feel safer in those spaces and compared to the other one, Hillbrow.
Yeah.
Okay, I have a question for you. So you said you don't feel safe in spaces like Hillbrow, right? Is that because of the people there? Is it because it's got a lot of people interacting with the space, or is it maybe because of how it was designed?
Or maybe the reputation.
Or the
reputation. It's also hearsay,
Yeah.
Basically what you hear or even see on the news, because Hillbrow has all these drug things, prostitution, all these different things, and you're gonna be scared to walk in these spaces. Just gonna be scared, But it's so peculiar because these spaces are in a CBD, right? In the same city, but they're so different. Even the quality of the sidewalks, you find that most of those places, that side of Hillbrow area, they dirty, they clustered, and they have a lot of unwanted vibes. So
so clearly urban design, I don't know, has an influence on the physical order of a place and then how people feel. But yes, I think more let's talk time frames, time. What times are you comfortable traveling in the city? Between what times?
I would say in the peak hours of the morning, so between 7 to 9. Those are very good times because people are active. There's no one who's yo, I'm watching you. And you feel safe because you're also mobile. So if you're just gonna go there and sit at a certain spot, and you're aware, and then you look at the area and see what's happening, you can see that because people, they keep moving up and down, even cars. So it's a bit safer at that time. Now you compare that to when the times are quiet. Because if someone drops you when the streets are quiet, no one is gonna be able to assist you.
Can I actually jump in there actually? So I think I agree with you to a certain extent when you say that peak times is where I feel safe, right? But at the same time, so my safety is a matter of I'm not subjected to things like robbery, petty crimes like that. But when there's peak activity in spaces, I then get nervous that this means I'm going to be subjected to sexual harassment. Yeah. So I think that's quite the contrast between that's just where you can see how as a black woman, how I interact and how I experience space compared to you as a male. And just to quickly go back to that the thing you said earlier on with urban design and how it influences how we interact with the space, I definitely agree with that. But I also think this is where you see the power of the mind, because Alusani spoke about how it's the preconception of Hillbrow that made him feel like it's off.
Yeah.
And it's things like that where, so I'm not from Joburg, and growing up I was always told about how dangerous Joburg is and how it's like just gangster's paradise, especially Bram. Especially Bram, because it's so close to CBD. So I always felt like I'm going to be unsafe in Bram. Then I lived here, interacted with the space, and yes, it's not the safest, but when I compare it with places like Hatfield, which is also a student hub, it's very different. I feel safer in Hatfield, and maybe it's because the buildings are not as high rise, the sidewalks are much larger, and it allows for more interaction with that space. But interestingly enough, when you look at the crime stats, it's the same.
It's the same. I think it goes back to the issue of it's the perception of also the place, like what occurs in the place. Because if you ask me, like, to go now, walk in Hillbrow or to walk in Hatfield, or Bram rather, let's use the same comparative whatnot, I would, Hatfield hands down. I don't know, it just feels safer regardless of, I think time of day, I'm not sure. But still, I'd rather walk in Hatfield later than in Bram, definitely.
Even at night. Like, there's also things that happen in Hatfield. It's just that they don't happen maybe to the certain extent that they do happen in Joburg.
It's the preconception, actually.
Yes.
Because...
traveling at night for me is just, regardless of the place, I don't know if maybe it's because of, me being female, I always feel like a target, but traveling at night for me, like even past 4:30, if I'm in Bram and I still have to travel home, that just gives me anxiety, because I'm like,
I think that shows the difference between how male and female perceives place, because from my side, I like walking at night.
You like it?
I honestly, I do. Like, it's so peaceful, and there's just peace. Like, I usually see when I'm around Bram, I'm walking to the CAD labs, or within going inside campus. When you walk out, there's just like peace, and there's nobody in the streets, and unless you see somebody appearing from nowhere. But there's peace, and there's nobody like in the streets, so it sometimes feels peaceful. But then I'm not saying that it's extremely safe. It's safe, but
you like it.
The quietness just,
I can never imagine. There was a time I left from campus, I think I was in second year, at 2 a.m. It was COVID. The streets were quiet. I've never been so scared in my life. A car came approaching, and I was like, please, Lord, nothing. Can nothing happen, because
you're female.
Exactly. Like, I just don't, but it's interesting that you say that. I love that for you, though. But so what would you say makes you feel safe in the space? Like, is it the quietness? Is street lighting enough?
Yeah, I think the lighting and the quietness, it just makes it, I don't know, it makes it seem safe for me, because there's no, there's no people moving, so there's no opportunity of a threat, or maybe thought of a threat. So as I said, unless somebody emerges like from nowhere, and then it suddenly there's sudden change. But
so which means that thing of feeling like there's a threat, it can either be like with cars or people, especially when you're walking at night, because the nerves, they get really sensitive, when you're like walking in the night. So you're always away, unless if it's quiet. I understand what you're saying, Lucy. When it's quiet and you see nobody, you're able to walk free.
Oh no,
but
for me that's a hazard.
As soon as you see a person, I've also gotten the dream. Imagine coming from CAD labs, going to the garage to buy something. and then you come across this dark figure. You don't know, first of all, is it a ghost or is it a person? Until the person comes closer. Yeah, well, because some areas, by the way, they can have good lighting, others they don't have.
Yeah.
Basically, because there is no lighting. But when you go to the areas that have the lighting, then it's, much better.
Yeah.
But seeing the figure.
But for me, the quietness is what's alarming, because I feel like the quietness makes me a target. Like, I feel like it's a thing of somebody will spot that, okay, she's alone. Like, there's no one in the streets. So for me, in any case, because this is my experience, I feel like more eyes on the streets is what I prefer, especially at night, because I feel like at least there's if anything is to happen, already the fact that I'm thinking that something is going to happen, but if anything is to happen, I feel like
someone can
help. And sadly, it's usually, I feel like, when there's more males on the streets, it's a sense of safety and danger, because I'm like, they're likely to help me, but at the same time they could be the people to attack me.
I definitely feel unsafe.
Yeah.
Definitely. If I feel like, even in let's say I'm on the street, and I see, let's say there's 5 people walking there and there's 3 men and 2 females, my natural instinct is to get nervous, because I have picked up that males prey on women, and they use public infrastructure actually as tools to just aid their crime. It's for instance, if you look at, there's those boxes on the side of the street that the electricity ones, right?
Boxes,
and I don't know how many times I've seen men stand behind that so that when a woman comes, they can creep behind them and snatch them.
Scary.
I don't know how many times I've seen that where they use public infrastructure. The crime is aided, I guess, by the way that the space is designed, which is quite difficult, because as an urban planner, if you're going to now plan against things like that, people, it's all about personalization and art, actually. Just how can you use a street light for its different use? So it's definitely a challenging one.
Oh no, okay, no. Interesting conversation, but I'll have to wrap it up here. Hopefully we can continue it some other time. You can leave your comments in the chat box. Is it a chat box? Yes. You can leave your comments down below, and we can continue the conversation. Thank you. Hi, I am joined by Siyabulela, who is an aspiring urban planner who's gonna continue the conversation on the perceptions of safety in the city. The gendered perceptions of safety in the city, excuse me. So in your opinion, as an aspiring urban planner, and with what you've learned so far, what would you say are the differences that exist between the male and female experience of the city? And then you can expand on just giving your experience of the city with regards to safety, yes.
In terms of safety, I would say there is a difference. When I first arrived, I felt it's male dominant in terms of how structures are, in a sense. It's
really?
You feel like, this is like a male, it was a male dominated industry in terms of how the layouts of the streets and whatnot.
In Johannesburg.
Yeah, in Johannesburg. In Johannesburg. It is, I would say it's male, it was designed in a sense where it only feels better utilized by males than females, for what I see. There are moments whereby a female can just call me, be like, hey, can you accompany to destination A, to destination B? So in terms of experience and perception and sense of place, I would say it is different. It is really different.
And then how would you say, coming into the city, how did you feel? Did this bother you, or is it something you picked up, or is it something you pondered on after?
I'd say it's something I figured out after. I'd say after doing my second year, when I was assigned this paradigm of what crime prevention through environmental design and whatnot. That's when I picked up some of these attributes that constitutes, as much as the city is designed for the public interest, but then you find that there is an I wouldn't say exclusion, but then I'd say sense of belonging, I'd say. Within the city that's kind of lacking ish for women. Where you find women being harassed by particular male street corners and whatnot.
Yeah.
So I'd say as male, we often feel dominant within those particular spaces, even in Fontaine. So yeah.
You said something interesting. You said like a lot of the time you've had females ask you to accompany them, and for me it's interesting because we're relying on a male to accompany us because we feel like you guys can protect us from another male, and I'm wondering, does this perpetuate the feeling that like the city is male, like it's for the male? Because it's like why is everyone so, well, not everyone, why are most females so comfortable asking a male to accompany them to potentially protect them from another male? So I don't know, do you think that this perpetuates the notion that the city is male orientated?
Yeah, that's a okay. That's a really deep question. I'd say it does. I'd say it does. It doesn't at the same time.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'll try to find a way to put it. I'd say it does in a sense because I often feel like, okay, this particular female is asking me to accompany them, but then I'm like, what about my safety though?
Yeah.
Like you get like where it's, I don't know. I'd say maybe it's our biological instincts whereby if you feel like, okay, a male should kind of attend to whatever male things that occur, conflicts within the city. So yeah, I'd say it is perpetuated.
You actually bring an interesting point, because in as much as we've been saying that the females' experience is, it's obviously different from the males, I think you brought to my mind that there's this thing that an unfair perception that we, or generally the population, feels like men should face danger. And do you get me?
Yeah.
Like, you just made me realize that there's a thing, there's a feeling of that we feel like it is okay for males to face danger, and that's also not okay. So I don't know, what urban design interventions, would you say would, help, so to say, if any, for both the male and the female experience to be of safety within the city to be?
I don't know, that is, I often feel like that's what we're currently searching for as planners, like especially within the context of South Africa. For me, my suggestion would probably be I would say urban regeneration in places such as Johannesburg CBD. I don't know, to kind of give it that sense of place, whereby you can see even the structuring, the walls. You can feel like, this is actually, it's inviting for both male and female. Where actually, I would say, and also to kind of, I'd say, put certain activities whereby it just, kind of correlates with everybody, instead of whereby this one is only for males, that particular section is for females. So, I don't know. It's still a searching phase, research type thing. So
Yeah. All right. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you for the insightful inputs you brought forward. Hopefully we can continue this conversation some other time.
No
Thank
problem.
you so much.
In this next section of the episode, I am joined by my dear colleague Maphaha, also known as DK, who, upon hearing my research interest for this project, shared a story related to the topic at hand and was keen on sharing his view and relaying a story that he feels like made him look at and slightly comprehend the female and male experiences of the world differently. He titles this his spatial prism.
And he would like to share a story that will put my topic into perspective, an insightful one. He's been insisting, he asked to do this. Yes, I'll hand over to him to introduce himself, what he does, and then get into it.
Good day, everyone. My name is Maphaha, and I'm a graduate in urban and regional planning. So today, my good dear friend Ndevu invited me to now, share my experiences and my views on this topic that she's going to be grappling with for her research. So with regards to my view, I mentioned the story once with her that she said, no, you know what, I need you to now upload it on my channel. And I'm like, don't worry, we'll have a discussion. So how the story unfolds is, I once had this discussion with a fellow, speaking about two main points, empathy and atonement. But how we now mention them now, burst this bubble that people have when it comes to perceptions of safety. So the story is about a married couple, one man and one woman, who've been married for 15 years and have continuously encountered challenges. So what the man now says is, he was now encountered, or rather forced to now go to a consultation with the wife because they've had battles. And what the man stated was the last time he was ever scared in his life was 15 years ago at a bar when a guy entered with a gun. However, on the other hand, when the woman was now posed to now respond and answer the question, she retorted by saying that she was scared just yesterday walking on the street. So now it intrigued me in some sort of way to now question this notion of safety and perceptions for that women and others might encounter that would like to be classified however they want to be identified. So how now I started now thinking about this was, I once left Bloemfontein, I think 3 or 4 years ago, around the early AMs in the morning to go to downtown. I had to accompany my friend to collect something of his, and ironically I wasn't scared, but the spaces I was walking in were poorly lit. So this is now where we come to urban design principles, things such as lighting. It was poorly lit, but I walked as if I was familiar with the space. I walked as if I knew the space. Whereas now I'm now intrigued by this notion of a woman gets scared during the day as she's crossing a street. So what do we now have to now battle with or tangle with in order to now make the space more inclusive for women? I mean, let's now revisit these principles of crime prevention through environmental design and what they now entail. So what it speaks about is there's this criminological, psychological behavior that people deduce or rather derive from like buildings and spaces. So for example, let's say you go to an area where there's like broken windows and stuff. You'd now feel maybe scared or not safe, or rather, or in addition to that, a space where there's like abandoned buildings, you might feel like, you know what, I can't move in this area because we don't know what's here. So it's still that criminological factor that you get from buildings, but also as well designing what? Designing more permeable, visible, and what's this term used in planning? Legibility, designing better legibility. So what that means is like when there's like, or rather, let me say, for lack of a better word, having buildings that reduce, or having spaces that reduce blind spots. So what I mean is, don't have buildings that are like too narrow and you can't even see what's happening on the other side. Try and create buildings that actually, flow and sync with the environments and stuff. So that's how I now view it, and I think that's my take. What do you now think, Ndevu?
I think what you've said is, it echoes what I've been trying to argue, what I've picked up, also with my experiences of safety. I think, yes, safety, particularly in this country, is very much gendered. I think, it's interesting sharing the story of the contrast between somebody not having been scared, being in a public space for 15 years, versus somebody who clearly is, versus a female who is scared every day, because she echoes that she was scared at work, of which is a fairly, you'd think somebody would be safe there, but yeah, I think it just echoes what I've been trying to show, how urban planning needs to be gender sensitive, and we need to find a balance in which we find common ground on urban design interventions that will cater for both female and male experiences within public life. Yes.
Because that leads me now to my second point, the major point, which is the empathy and the atonement. So the understanding now I'm getting, especially with regards to empathy, how do women now become involved in planning cities? Because there's also other things we use for consciousness, like architecture. And what that is, going into spaces and maybe using artists, people who can spray paint and then they can, create awareness of some sort through designing, like everyone has equal rights, free women, don't abuse women, to create that awareness, but to consciously alter mindset to try and make space inclusive. I think that's the empathy part, and how we are now at home is just basically through allowing women as well a say in this whole design of spaces. So I think that's my chat, but not just women and women alone, other people who identify however they want to identify as well. So trying to be inclusive in the true sense of the word. So I think,
Yes, thank you. Thank you very much, DK. What I'm getting from this is that, how you view space, how it can better be equipped to cater for both genders is you're very big on urban design. You're very big on urban design being used as an intervention, as a tool to reduce these very different perceptions, yes. Thank you very much. It was very insightful. Thank you.
Thanks. It was nice discussing with you, Dave. Bye, everyone.